Seeing her body on the pavement didn't really register. It was kind of like an out-of-body experience.
Death from the second-story fall is possible.
If this isn't an accident, what happened in this house?
Tell me how I died.
Your mom fell? Like 2 stories, yeah. Oh my God. I have them on the way.
I'm flipping out, crying, screaming. And I remember thinking, I cannot touch my mom's body. So I give my brother, Muhammad, the phone.
Well, we're going to do CPR now, okay?
The Farmington Hills Fire Department was first on scene, and they take over doing CPR. Nada was lying on the ground, on the concrete, unresponsive, and they noticed that above her, there is an open window. It's a very high window. It looks like it's almost a 3rd-story window as opposed to a 2nd-story. Next to Nada's body on the ground outside the window was a hand towel. The hand towel was actually wet, and it had a chemical smell coming from it.
They asked us if we have any relatives in the area, and we told them that we have our dad. And they're like, okay, well, you need to call him and tell him to get here.
When checking the home, police noticed that in the room where Nada had fallen from the window, there was a ladder next to the window. There was a bucket of water. The screen from the window was inside and propped up against the wall, and there was a bottle of cleaning solution on top of the ladder. It appeared that she was actually cleaning the window and had accidentally fallen out. After Muhammad called his father, Basil came to the home, and when he arrived, police notified him that Nada was deceased. Basil tells investigators that he and Nada were in the process of a divorce and that he was no longer living in the home. Police tell Basil that it would be best if the children were not there while they were processing the scene, so Basil did take the children and he left the residence.
My mother is from Syria. She lived there until she was about 18 years old, which is when she got engaged and married to my father. After their wedding, they moved to America.
I met Nada while working out at Franklin. She loved to make other people happy. She was a really warm, kind soul and easy to talk to.
The medical examiner noticed that there was a bluish tinge to Nada's skin and also that she had blood on her nose and lips. A bluish tint normally indicates lack of oxygen.
We retrieve tissue samples from the lungs, put under the microscope, and Dr. Ortiz noted that there were bacterial colonies in the air sacs, and there was blood. That's a telltale sign that someone forcefully blocked the nose and the mouth in the process of smothering.
Officers at the scene detected a chemical smell coming from the hand towel that was laying next to Nada's body. And Dr. Dragovic wondered if that chemical could have been used to incapacitate Nada before she was smothered and then thrown out the window.
Because of bacterial colonies in the lungs as a result of blockage of the nose and the mouth. The cause of death was asphyxia by smothering, and the manner of death was determined to be homicide.
Nada was married but not happy. She was beginning to go through a divorce, and she needed to be freer.
Growing up, my father was very, very strict in making sure he raised us in a very Islamic household. The problems would arise when he would try to enforce very old-fashioned, misogynistic, sexist type of views. The more that my mom started to be more outspoken for herself, the more issues it caused. For a while, my parents tried to hide it, but then arguments became a lot more out in the open. They're hiding absolutely nothing.
Nada wanted to be more Americanized is the word that I'm using. Basil wanted her to be more of the traditional Muslim wife, and I think that created tension.
Investigators received a tip from the interior designer who worked in the home, and the designer told police that there were security cameras inside the home and that they should be working. So they contacted Basil to obtain permission to seize the DVR as evidence. It's grainy, a little bit inconsistent, and there is no footage of the actual window itself, but there is of the opposite wall outside the window. And there is a shadow being cast on the wall.
Investigators have submitted that for digital review and enhancement. That takes a period of time.
Police focused on the text messages between Nada and her son, Muhammad, who was still talking to his father, Basil. When examining the text messages between Nada and Muhammad, the police discovered what they considered a bombshell.
Nada had been in my office on a Friday, and we had been preparing for a deposition that was supposed to be held the next week, where Nada would have been cross-examined by Basil's attorney, and I would have had a chance to cross-examine Basil. Monday morning, I was back at my office, and I received a phone call from a friend of Nada's saying Nada had hit her head and died.
Basil had pled guilty to spouse abuse, and he was required to wear a tether. Based on the examination of the tether records, it showed that Basil was actually 20 miles away in Canton. So Basil was not at the home the morning Nada was pushed out the window.
Farmington Police Department finally received the enhanced video.
At 5:54 a.m., the light comes on in the room where Nada fell from the window, and you can see two shadows that are cast on the wall outside the window. It then shows the one person being hoisted over the ledge of the window and falling out the window. After the body falls out the window, you see the shadow of the person still in the room, moving objects around, which shows that the scene had been staged.
Muhammad's reaction to my parents getting a divorce was saying to my mom, "How could you? You're gonna destroy our lives." My brother basically would reiterate everything my dad had ever said. He's a lot more volatile, and his fuse is so much shorter, and you just don't know when he's gonna snap.
Once the body of Nada is out the window, the remaining structure appears to be a male, matching Muhammad's size and weight.
Now, we noticed that, there's a security system here. Do you know how that works?
No, I wasn't even aware of that. We had more cameras in the back of the house.
Well, we took it, and it's working. So everything's on video as to what transpired.
Muhammad was reluctant to provide further detail and was somewhat evasive.
Muhammad originally said that he was not in the room with Nada when she fell. Based on the fact that he changed his story several times and that there were only a few people in the home at the time, police took Muhammad into custody after the interview. Police examined the cell phone records and saw that Muhammad had actually sent his father a photo of the window Nada fell from, and he had sent that photo quite some time before her death.
Examination of that telephone also reflected the phone was actively used by Muhammad with his father the morning of the incident, either texting or telephone calls at 4:30 until approximately 6 a.m.
It did not take very long to do this surprise attack with placing the rag over the mouth and nostrils, where the towel soaked with some chemical that had anesthetic function, inhaling this directly, and it was quickly over within a minute or two, 3 at the most. And then disposal of the body followed through the window. That was it.
Muhammad went to trial in March of 2022, which was almost 5 years after he was arrested.
The jury reached a verdict in just 2 hours. Guilty as charged. Muhammad was sentenced 35 to 60 years for killing his own mother.